And we are rolling. Mike Perry is up first for the UFC 226 weigh-ins. Mike Perry fighting Paul Felder on Saturday night, short notice. A fight that was agreed to on Twitter, of all places. Within the span of a day, really. Yancy Medeiros fell out with an injury, and Paul Felder stepped up immediately.
170.5 for Mike Perry.
Mike Perry making the move to Jackson Winklejohn for this fight. Speaking to him yesterday, he was very, very complimentary of Jackson Winklejohn. He said one of the big reasons he moved there was because of John Jones' presence there. He wanted to train with greatness, and it seemed like he really enjoyed a lot. He enjoyed the experience, and he grew from it. Paulo Costa up next here at the UFC 226 weigh-ins. The Eraser, vowing yesterday to erase Uriah Hall. If that's going to be his catchphrase, I am all in on that catchphrase.
One of my favorite nicknames, and he is sticking with the gimmick, Sean.
I will erase you. It's classic. No idea how Paulo Costa makes 185.
I think he works out. What do you think?
No.
185.5.
185.5 for Paulo Costa, who is a big contingency here. They're very happy.
Brazilian fans in attendance seem to be very excited that the Eraser has made weight. An objectively good-looking man, Sean Al-Shadi.
Oh, I think anybody who would argue otherwise is just a hater, frankly. That's just a fact.
I'm just being objective.
But that's what we do here on MMA Fighting. We're objective reporters. Lando Venata up next.
Some would say that we're bastions of truth.
Lando Venata taking on Drakkar Klose. Battle between two very, very good lightweight prospects. $156 for Lando Venata.
Venata, one of the more entertaining fighters on the UFC roster, doesn't have the best-looking record right now in the UFC, but
it's a deceiving record.
Entertaining. Deceiving. I thought that.
That's true. Our cameraman Casey telling us he's going for the record for 5 straight bonuses. He already has 4 in his first 4 fights. Dan Hooker now up.
The Hangman.
Dan Hooker taking on Gilbert Burns on the UFC Fight Pass prelims. Dan Hooker on a tremendous run at lightweight since moving back up from featherweight. He said the weight cut to featherweight just killed him. He could not. It was ruining his performances, and I believe him considering how he's looked at lightweight. 155.5 for Dan Hooker.
Dan Hooker was telling me yesterday at Media Day that the difference between 45 and 55 for him was that he felt like a zombie at 45 and that he couldn't actually even think in the octagon. He said he's like a thinking man's fighter. When he was at 145, he couldn't think. It was just all insane.
Brain was foggy.
His brain was foggy at 145.
It's scary, man.
Very
Drakkar
scary.
Klose up next, who, as we said just a minute ago, is taking on Lando Venata. The MMA Lab's own Drakkar Klose. And Drakkar just seems to keep getting top prospect after top prospect in this lightweight division. 156 for Drakkar Klose.
Sean, it's not that I wished for Drakkar Klose to miss weight, but I did want to say close, but no cigar if he did.
I would have been really proud of you for that line, and I still am. I want you to know that.
I probably should have saved that in the event that he ever does miss weight, but alas,
but when you have gold like that, you can't hold on to it for too long. Emily Wittmeyer up now. 116 for Emily Wittmeyer. Emily takes on Jaime Moil in the opening bout of Saturday night's card.
And here is Jaime Moil.
And speak of the devil, Jaime Moil up next.
Jaime Moil?
She's a bit mischievous, but I wouldn't call her the devil, Sean. Love boat Jamie.
Oh my God, Mark.
She doesn't look all that happy on the scale, Sean.
116 for Jaime Moil.
Recently moved to, well, not all that recently, but after her last fight, she moved to Team Alpha Male. She said it's been the best move for her career. And that is her sister with her.
Paul Felder up now. Paul, of course, a lightweight who is fighting at welterweight this weekend. Was supposed to take on James Vick. It's a very different opponent than Mike Perry in both stature and skills.
What a strange few weeks for Paul Felder, who thought he was going to be fighting James Vick next week. James Vick got pulled to fight Justin Gaethje, and now Paul Felder's fighting Mike Perry.
Mike Perry and he had a very, very intense stare down yesterday. 170 for Paul Felder. The lightweight makes welterweight limit with ease.
I would like to see Paul Felder at welterweight moving forward. Of course, I want to see how he does against Mike Perry, but he's a very big man for lightweight.
He's bigger than Mike Perry.
He's bigger than Mike
At least
Perry.
size, like height-wise.
Certainly.
Rafael Sunsao now, the often forgotten top man at bantamweight. His record, if you take a look at his record over the years, is just ridiculous. Full of wins over top fighters at bantamweight. What does this guy got to do to get a title shot? Maybe he can make a statement on Saturday night and get that title shot next. $136 for Rafael Sunsao.
One of the more underrated fighters, I think, in all of the UFC.
I would agree with that.
Sunsao.
He's, of course, taking on Rob Font on the Fox Sports 1 prelims.
In his spare time, Rafael Sunsao races Porsches in Georgia. You know that, Sean?
Oh, yeah?
Races Porsches, yes.
So does he just have a collection of Porsches?
I think so, but I will look into that for you.
Do the homework. I want you to get back
I
to me on that.
will ask his manager, the
Derek Lewis?
tremendous Daniel Rubenstein.
Tremendous. Derek Lewis up next, the Black Beast, who's now fighting the co-main event against Francis Ngannou. Lewis yesterday defending the honor of Popeye's Chicken. He felt like DC disrespected Popeye's Chicken. 264 and a half for the big man. Barely making it under the heavyweight limit. He had a very, very intense stare down with Francis Ngannou yesterday. These two have history, Mark.
I am incredibly excited about that fight. When I saw them face off, when I saw them both on the dais last night, of course, everyone wanted to see Holloway versus Ortega, but you really can't go wrong with Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. How is that fight not exciting? Right?
Oh, my God. Khalil Roundtree up next. This one, too, what a banger this one is. He's taking on Gokhan Saki on the main card opener on the pay-per-view. This fight was supposed to take place earlier this year. Had a little bit of a delay, but I am glad it is back. That is safe to say.
It's another stand-up fans war. But Gokhan Saki, not very bullish on Roundtree's striking game compared to his own. Of course, he's a decorated kickboxer.
205 for Khalil Roundtree. I cannot wait for that one. And we are just rolling here at the UFC 226 early weigh-ins. Keep it a nice pace, just like yesterday.
Don't jinx it, Sean.
Hey, that's what I do.
Yesterday we were rolling. We had all but 3 fighters weigh in the first 29 minutes, and it still almost lasted the entire 2 hours. Max Griffin now in the room to weigh in.
Max Griffin, who of course beat Mike Perry in his last fight, yet somehow still finds himself below Mike Perry on the card. I guess that's the way things work here. He's taking on Curtis Millander, who, I mean, this is a battle between extremely good welterweight prospects. Millander just destroyed Thiago Alves in his UFC debut. 170.5 for Max Griffin. Max Payne, as he likes to say.
Indeed, after the video game, right? Or possibly after the early 90s WCW wrestler who went on to be Man Mountain Rock in WWF.
Can you say that last name again? Man Mountain?
Man Mountain Rock.
That is 3 random words just thrown together, and I love it.
It's almost like a Japanese pro wrestling.
Very much so. I like it a lot. And speak of the devil, Gokhan Saki up next.
Jose Youngs from Fanside appreciated my little input on the old school
Man
pro
Mountain
wrestling, obscure pro wrestling interest reference there.
Gokhan Saki! And I'm sure you heard that. There are several people here in support of Gokhan Saki, who again faces Khalil Roundtree this Saturday night on the pay-per-view opener. I have already said it twice, but I'm going to say it again. I cannot wait for this fight. I am so excited. 206 for Gokhan Saki.
A lot of Gokhan Saki fans here.
Yes, for a man who's only 1-1 in MMA, he certainly has a following.
I'm excited about what he can do in MMA. He is an incredible striker.
I think that's putting it lightly, to be honest.
I have a limited vocabulary, Sean, so I was just
Well,
kind of going
especially
with...
this early in the morning. Curtis Millander, who's taking on Max Payne on the Fox Sports 1 opener. If you have not seen Curtis Millander's knockout over Thiago Alves, brutal second-round knee from this February, I would suggest you go find that. 170.5 for Curtis Millander, who's riding a string of 3 straight, just clean knockouts. His 2 fights before the UFC and LFA, both head kick knockouts, both spectacular. Search those out if you haven't seen them.
It's funny, Sean, because Millander was kind of just a guy in Bellator not too long ago, just almost an opponent. He was going to fight Michael Venom Page. Fight never came to fruition. Now here he is on this streak in the UFC with some violent finishes, as you said.
Gilbert Burns up next. The jiu-jitsu savant who has suddenly discovered extreme striking power. Last time out in Glendale, 155 for Gilbert Burns, who's coming off a tremendous knockout at UFC Glendale. He takes on Dan Hooker in the Fight Pass prelims.
We are really flying through here. I see a queue has formed in the room next to us with fighters waiting to weigh in.
Well, now who's trying to jinx this?
I just call it like I see it, Sean. I'm seeing a line form. Perhaps fighters showing...
Oh, Rob Font with the big applause here.
Massachusetts in the building, apparently, Sean.
Rob Font getting a massive opportunity here with this fight against Rafael Assunção. Basically a top 3 fighter at bantamweight. Rob Font really getting this opportunity. See if he can capitalize. 135.5 for Rob Font. And there, you were right, Massachusetts is in this building.
I feel like that New England scene, Sean, has really reached a new height recently with some of the fighters coming out of that area, the Massachusetts, Rhode Island area. Calvin Cater and his pet bird, of course, being one of those.
He's about to weigh in. Let's see how he's moving. DC appears to be walking well.
Certainly a different DC at heavyweight than 205.
The return of DC to heavyweight. I believe he said 246.
246.
246 for Daniel Cormier. Who seems to be in good spirits.
DC said he will not face plant off the scale. Is that correct?
That is what he said. And obviously, taking a look from our perspective, it doesn't seem as if any part of his leg is particularly swollen, or at least more so than anything else. But obviously that is
as well.
Yeah, obviously that's just a layman diagnosis. I have no idea.
Has a
Okay, so bringing out the towel. It's a very big weight cut always. Tense moment here at the weigh-ins. 157 and a half for Michael Chiesa.
Chiesa is 1.5 pounds overweight for his fight with Anthony Pettis.
Michael Chiesa announces that this will be his last fight at lightweight. Again, Michael Chiesa, 157 and a half. He looks very sunken in. What a contrast going from someone who struggled so much to make weight to a heavyweight who's having himself a good old time this morning. $253 for Francis Ngannou. Your co-main event for Saturday night is official. Francis Ngannou, of course, taking on the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, in a sensational grudge match. Stare down between these two was fire yesterday, Mark.
Again, I said it earlier in this broadcast. That is a sensational heavyweight fight. There's no way it can be boring. I mean, there's just no way. Now watch, of course, it'll find some way to be boring. But if
we have a surprise here today. Alexander Volkov coming in as a backup fighter to weigh in for the main event.
Did not know that he was.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that he probably didn't have to cut any weight. So he's kind of just getting a free weekend in Vegas. 236 for Alexander Volkov, the backup for Saturday night's main event. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume, as Casey just told me, that we have Volkov versus Brian Ortega is on for Saturday night. And that is, of course, not at all happening.
That is, of course, just a silly joke, Sean.
But here we go, Stipe Miocic, the UFC heavyweight champion. Miocic looking to extend his record of consecutive title defenses. 242.5. Stipe Miocic coming in under Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier weighing more than the heavyweight champion.
The light heavyweight champion weighing more than the heavyweight champion.
What a sport this is, Mark.
And again, we are still waiting for Uriah Hall, still waiting for Anthony Pettis, but plenty of time for them. And it looks like Uriah Hall's
And here we go, Uriah Hall. He is in good spirits, it appears.
Looks very healthy.
Tells us not to panic. It's not that bad, he says. $185.5 for Uriah Hall, who makes weight for his middleweight fight against Paulo Costa. And he is joking, he is laughing, he is having a good time this morning. Anthony Pettis coming out with the towel. Anthony Pettis with a little DC joke there. 156 for Anthony Pettis. He gets in under the lightweight limit. He's a very happy man about that. So Anthony Pettis makes weight for his lightweight fight against Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa, of course, missed weight by 1.5 pounds. But that fight is on. We'll get the details for you about how this is going to play out, fines, how things are going to happen, whether how much of Chiesa's I can't speak all of a sudden, how much of Chiesa's purse Pettis will get. But in the meantime, that wraps up today's UFC 226 weigh-ins. Daniel Cormier, Stipe Miocic both made weight for their main event fight, and we are locked and loaded for Saturday night. Thank you so much for joining us today on today's broadcast. One more time, I am Sean Oshadi. I have been joined by Mark Raimondi. It has been fun.